So my name is Kelly Williams. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I've been a licensed hairstylist for almost 30 years. I am the salon owner for 17 years, and I actually have my own product line for almost the last 2 years. I'm very passionate about hair, and this is my hair story. So as far as my hair story is concerned, I was that little girl who had very slow growing hair. So I wasn't even like DW from Arthur, like I wasn't even Dora, like I was that little girl who I had to roll up my hair, put a headband on, and I never got a chance to really experience like the long ponytails with the little bobos, like that wasn't me. Like that was not my story. I come from a family where most of the women in my hair had very long, thick hair. And then there was me and maybe a handful of my cousins where we just had slow growing hair, and we could not figure out like what the issue was. But this was something that was a cycle, and that was something that was very ongoing. So of course it created like some issues and like some self-esteem issues. But I think that this is something that when Black women come together in a room, one of the first things that we talk about is we talk about our hair. That's like a core foundational thing that once we kind of get together, we are talking about whether like, what do you do with your hair? Who does your hair? What's going on with my hair? Why is my hair so dry? And then we could always go back to childhood and we talk about our issues with our hair from childhood, most women. But I remember when I was in the 4th grade, my mother said that I could get a relaxer. And so I went to the hair salon for the very first time and I got a relaxer and I loved it. And a few months later, my hair broke off. And we just did not understand why my hair broke off. Now, my grandmother was actually a licensed cosmetologist. So we tried to come up with a regimen on how to basically grow my hair back because we didn't understand like the root of it of why did my hair break off, right? So I also remember when I was in the 5th grade, I remember having to take pictures for a dance recital, right? So I had to go and take pictures for the dance recital, and I went to my sister's hairstylist, and he looked at my hair, and I was looking through the hair books and everything, and I was picking out which hairstyle that I wasn't aware. And when I showed him the book, he was like, "You're gonna have to call your mom because we're gonna have to cut your hair." So I was devastated because once again, we're talking about my hair breaking off, and this was a year had gone by, and I thought my hair grew, but really it was just like a patch or two. I remember an older lady was there, and I'm pretty sure that she saw just the sadness, and I probably was crying, and she leaned over to me in that auntie type of way. She was a beautiful woman and just a motherly woman. She said, "You need to cut your hair off and you're gonna look really pretty because it's gonna grow back." And I just needed that assurance to just let me know that it was going to be okay. Like, this is something that happens. We're here to help you. And she was just a regular client, but I appreciate that. And I remember that moment because that's devastating for a little girl or for a woman of any age to have to go through the trauma of why does this keep happening with my hair? So I remember I got my hair cut off. It was the day of my recital. Y'all, he cut my hair like Anita Baker. Now, mind you, I'm like 9 or 10 years old with this giving you the best I got haircut. I thought it was still cute. Because here's the thing, I never had an issue with how I looked. Y'all did. And so my thing was, I felt like I looked pretty. And so I took that picture, and I wish I could find that picture, but I took that picture and I was proud, and I was in my little glittery dance recital outfit, and I reached out my arms and I was like, bam. But I just remember after that, having a Anita Baker haircut that was short. I'm like 9 or 10 years old, and I don't got no relaxer. So that look don't really last too long. But crazy thing is, because I went to a predominantly white school, they didn't really notice it. Like, they didn't know because they get their hair cut. We get our hair done. So they were like, "Oh, you got a haircut." And I was like, yeah, I was okay during those years. But during that time, you have to remember that that's that 9, 10-year-old type of age group. That's typically when you're going through puberty. So as a Black woman, as a Black young girl going through puberty and in a predominantly white school, I had full lips, my hair broke off, and I didn't have too many people that looked like me. And so some of my esteem issues was just surrounded by I was not the norm. So as my body's developing, because this is the time where your hormones are doing what they're supposed to do, I didn't also connect that what was going on in me hormonally was also had something to do with my hair. Like we typically don't connect that. And so that also brought issues with how I felt about myself, which is why I can genuinely see when like young girls, how, when I look at them, how they feel about themselves, the reflection that they see, and how important it is to know that, the confidence in how how you feel on the outside and how you feel on the inside about yourself and who's around you. So that was something that it really did deeply affect me because, like I said, there wasn't anybody around me that looked like me. So funny thing is that my mom actually began to take me to a different hairstylist, and she worked at Hudson's. So I used to go to Hudson's every Sunday before school started every week and started to get my hair done. And it was a nice woman who did my hair. And like I said, it was every week, and that helped to boost my self-esteem because now my hair is done every week. So I will say that my parents did a very good job with making sure that they built me up in a world where everybody don't really build you up because they don't really care. And they don't really realize the things they're saying to a young girl who feels some kind of way on the inside, even though I was trying to hide it. So as I was beginning to go to this hairstylist every single week, my hair really did begin to grow. And it was because I was consistent with a professional. She knew what she was doing. She was using excellent products, and I was very consistent in going. Here's the thing about consistency. Typically, my mom had this cycle where when things got good and things got, begin to grow, after about a good, let's say a good year, we stopped. So what typically happens when you're dealing with a cycle and you haven't gotten to the root of it, is going to go back to, breaking back off. So we did the best we could, right? When I got to middle school, that was a turning point for me because middle school is not the best years for everybody. So after my dad got married, and I had this Jerry, this Hawaiian silky, because we can call it Hawaiian silky, because it wasn't like the Jerry curl, but I loved it. And I remember my dad's wife had took me and her daughter to go get our hair done. Now I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I'm not supposed to get my hair done because I got this curl now, so I'm not really supposed to go except every 3 months. However, when we got to the salon with her, she said, the stylist said, well, you can blow it out and we can press this out. So I was like, what? Really? So she blew it out and it looked good. And I went home. My mom was like, oh, okay, that looks nice. I was like, yeah, Mom, like I can wear curly or straight. That was a whole lie. Because when I say the next thing I knew, my hair fell out within the next couple of months. So that's when I had talked to a friend of mine, just got her hair done. So I did some investigative reporting. And so we made an appointment together. So I went with her to her hair appointment to get my hair done also. And the devastating words again, we need to cut your hair. And I was just like, so she cut it in a really cute hairstyle. However, again, I don't have a relaxer anymore. And it's really, really falling out because all of the chemicals from the Hawaiian silky has to come out. So it's gonna fall out with your hair. So there I am again, just doing the best I can with my life at this point. Because I'm just like, what do I do? So eventually it did grow back. I learned to hold my head up. I learned to have confidence. I did, my mom and my dad, they did the best they could, would continue to build that confidence up in me. But kids are kids. Kids can just be kids are kids, and they're going to say whatever they're going to say to make the rest of the class laugh. And sometimes I was just the butt of those jokes, right? I learned even to date, because I tell young girls this now, people are never going to stop talking about you. So I learned how to keep my head up, and I learned how to continue to feel good about myself. I remember about 8th grade, my mom saw another hairstylist, but this salon was a hair clinic that was located in Detroit, Michigan on West McNichols. The thing about it was I was the youngest client ever in that whole thing because I saw that it was a bunch of middle-aged women, professional women, and they had a lot of hair issues as far as like alopecia, hair loss, just things that were happening to them. But the first thing they do is they took a picture of your hair. They took you in the office, they tracked your hair, the progress. Me and my mother went, and we went pretty much every other week, right? It was very specific directions. And I remember listening to everything that this man said because like he had it down to a science, and it was true. The women that came out of there, their hair really did grow. There was no advertisement, but it was packed. It was jam-packed full of women looking for their hair to grow, but in a holistic way. Like, I even remember the smell of the oil that he had us use. So we had to buy this complete package of oil and everything. And it was very to a T science. So they pretty much press your hair only. There was no relaxers, no colors, no nothing, no chemicals at all in this salon. But you had to wear your hair pretty much just straight, and at that time, bent. So what I wasn't gonna do is I wasn't gonna go back to this school that I'm at, that they already talking about me, and wear my hair like Tootie from the Facts of Life. Like, it was not gonna happen. As everybody else hair is growing, so mind you, my mother's hair was flourishing. It was, as usual, it was looking really good. It was growing. It was like, oh, where are you getting your hair done? And then there was me, and I'm sitting there like not a care in the world, because I'm gonna get up and curl my hair every single day. So how serious this salon was, they pulled me in their office with my mom, and they were just like, so we're noticing that your hair isn't growing the way that it should be for somebody your age. Now, your mom's hair is doing good, but what is she doing because her hair is not really growing? Well, I used to be a little liar, so I'm gonna lie about what I'm doing, and I'm gonna call you a liar for calling me a liar. And so I would tell them, like, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. They're asking me, they're like, are you curling your hair every day? No. Are you, make sure you put your oil in there? Yes. Dead in the eye lying. I just cared more about style at that point because of my age than I cared about hair care. I just remember during those times, and eventually my mom was like, whatever, Kelly, just do whatever you want. And I got a relaxer, and I went to high school. Now, high school is a totally different when it came to, because now we're talking like early 90s. What I noticed when I got to high school is that they weren't too much concerned about having super long hair. It was all about the style. And so I love that. And funny thing is, I come on here because I come on asymmetric. I was curving my hair. My mom was letting me do whatever you want to. She's like, whatever. And I was looking for more style than I was, again, like most teenagers, than the actual hair care. I always remember the things that I learned from that hair clinic. And I was always taking these things in because I did want to find out why my hair wasn't growing. As I went to high school, I would say maybe like about 10th grade, I found a young lady that I was going to driver training with. I asked her where she was getting her hair done, because at this point, I'm about to leave this clinic because I was still going to the clinic. And she told me what stylist she went to. It happened to be right down the street from my house, not too far. So I began to go with her. This lady poured so much into me during some of the most important years of my life during high school, and I love her for it. Her name was Nancy. She was a woman of God. She just really imparted a lot of confidence. But I remember my mom, once I started going there, she said, Kelly, you can get a relaxer in your hair if you cut your hair off. Now, y'all, do y'all remember Strictly Business when Halle Berry first got her hair cut? That style was the bomb. When I went and got my hair done like that, I got the relaxer, I got my hair cut. I want to tell you that changed everything. I finally found my look. I finally found a style. I felt confident about who I was. I just felt like I was no longer trying to chase having long hair. I wasn't chasing a certain look of a way that I just was not, it just wasn't going to turn out that way. And I just finally feel like I started to become me. The other thing is that hormonally, I had surpassed all the things that my body had to do as a pre-adolescent. So all the hormonal changes were over, and I recognized that I no longer was facing the same hair challenges that I was, prior to high school. So that's very important to know, because a lot of times, once you surpass that, and once young girls start their cycles, their body begins to balance out, and they're not going to have all of the same issues that they, in different areas that they did before then. So that's very important. That's just something that I didn't know. But I love that hairstyle. I never had issues with my hair growing. And I just really feel like I found my look, and I found my person to do my hair. So that's another thing. I feel like it's very important as a young lady, as they're coming into themselves and maturing, to find the person, the right stylist for them. And the person that may be for you as a mother may not be, for your child at that time. So that's also important to know. So moms, keep that in mind. Like, don't be trying to send your kids there just because that's where you go. Sometimes they need their own space so that they can grow and they can feel confident and be who they're looking to become. And that person may pour into them. And hopefully that person's into hair care and would teach them hair care also. So as I decided to go into my beauty, career, I had to think about what was the root cause of, why did my hair keep breaking off? Like, why did it break off specifically in the back? Because that was the main part that just kept breaking off. Well, as I began to go to beauty school, I began to find out the whys. Yeah, and that's why it's so important to also, it's not just about styling, it's about finding out the chemistry of the hair, the biology of the hair, just everything. You can make somebody look beautiful on the outside, like how I went every week and it, looked great, but then it would break off as soon as I stopped. Well, it was because of poor nutrition. It was because of lack of iron, because most young ladies are anemic. They have low iron. So you can tell by their fingernails, you can tell if their hair breaks off a certain place. You always try to figure out why is your hair so dry, why are the ends so brittle. You can also look at low vitamin D. There's so many components that go into why young girls and women, especially once they start their cycle, why their hair is breaking off. It's usually because of these things. And we try to sometimes go to the doctor and we're like, I don't know why my daughter's here. Well, the doctor is not going to know. They're there to practice medicine. They're not going to know why your daughter's hair or your hair is breaking off. You go to a dermatologist, they're not going to know because it's a study of skin and not the study of hair. And so as I began to grow and as education became a huge part of my career, because I was so concerned about these women now that I'm a hairstylist, I was concerned about why are all these middle-aged women, why is their hair breaking off? Like, what is going on with Black women and their hair? As I began to get more education, as I began to grow, I've always been into healthy hair. Now, everybody says that they're a healthy hair, stylist or a healthy hair advocate, but can you really repair? Can you truly just do more than just styling? So as I learned when I was going to that hair clinic, there was no styling. But there was a lot of repair work, a lot of restoration that took place, and they will grow your hair, but you have to follow the directions. What I also learned is that the root cause is what you're putting in your body. As we know, when it comes to any type of chronic disease, they always take you back to what are you eating, diet and exercise. So once you learn about your levels, once you learn about what's going on the inside, once you learn about these things and you begin to implement them, you will begin to flourish in every area. You'll begin to flourish with your hair. And as we grow older, especially those that are now going through perimenopause and menopause, you're wondering why your silk press don't last. You're wondering why your hair may be stunted. It's stunted growth. A lot of it has to do with hormones and what our bodies are going through. Once again, I was going through things as a pre-adolescent before my cycle came on. It kind of balanced itself out. When I became like in my 20s, I didn't eat that well. But at the same time, I wasn't concerned about what I was eating. But my hair wasn't doing too bad. But we have to pay attention to so many different aspects to find out why. And so it's not just about rubbing grease in your hair. It's not just about getting certain oils, because we are huge with getting hair growth oils, but we're not doing nothing on the inside that's going to help it. We're not taking care of our iron level. We're not taking care of our vitamin D. And once I became a mother and I have daughters now, I really try to make sure, because one does have low iron and the other one does have low D, and I can tell the difference in their hair. I had to figure out, well, what can I do differently just so that my daughters would be able to, have flourishing hair and they won't have to go through what I went through. There are so many voices that are out there on YouTube and making content, and they are not professionals and they're just saying their experience. But it's up to us as professional stylists to use our voice to speak the truth and to use our voice to educate the clients and tell them what's going on. Now, it's up to them to listen. About 10 years ago, I did open up a beauty supply store. And that was something I was very proud of. But one thing that was very conflicting for me was that I knew that the products that I was going to be selling, they weren't good products, because I learned so much during that time that I did have a beauty supply store, that you're pretty much buying these products for $1 and then you were selling them for anywhere from $3 to $5 or more, and they weren't quality products. As a licensed professional, I knew that and I felt conflicted. But what I did was I implemented as a licensed stylist to make sure that I had the things that I can get as a licensed professional, and I made sure that I had those on the shelf too. So I was able to direct people to whichever they want. Unfortunately, the beauty supply store didn't last, but again, I learned so much about products. I learned about manufacturing. I learned about everything that's going on in the back end, and I do understand now that it's really a billion-dollar industry, and they're selling you these things, and so you need to just be mindful of what you're purchasing. A lot of times people are buying, they're going back to the Blue Magic, the Pink Oil Moisturizer, they're going back to things that they felt that worked on their hair in 1980 something when you were a child. Well, first off, those things had different ingredients where your body's totally different. That company was most likely a Black-owned company. Now, it probably isn't. In some cases, the formula has changed, but you're still, that nostalgic part of you is still going back to these old products, and I would not necessarily recommend them. And this is one reason why I decided to embark on having my own product line, is because I care about your hair and I wanted to be able to offer to my clients so that they'll be able to flourish and maintain their hair, in a really good way, using high quality products. I didn't want to do a bunch of watered down products. So I always say, if your hairstylist has invested in retailing products and they're suggesting it to you, but instead you go to the beauty supply store, the products are going to be night and day. And so my suggestion is that you listen to your licensed professional, the person that's caring for your hair. I suggest that you really do listen to what they're not only saying, but the investment that you're making in them, they've already made in you. And so they're not going to sell you. They're not going to, most likely, they're not going to have cheap products on their shelves to retail to you. They're going to have high quality products. I looked at a content a few days ago, and there was an African American lady, and she was talking about how you don't always have to purchase these African American products in order to get the best thing for their hair. Well, I agree with that. You don't. As a licensed professional, I get high quality products, and you have to be mindful and aware of how they're marketing to us. And that's the biggest thing. They're marketing these products based on how you look. They're putting a pretty Black woman, with long hair, with silky hair, with, shiny hair on a box or on a, colorful marketing. And it's speaking to you. And we're doing great commercials and we're doing great content, and you're buying into that. But is that the best thing for your hair? I know it's a lot of information out there, but I think an educated hairstylist is the best hairstylist for you to go to. When you're looking for a new stylist, don't always look for the style, but look for what they are using on their clients' hair. What are the results that they're getting with the majority of their clients? I love doing hair. I'm very passionate about hair. I love the feel of hair, but I love natural, your own hair. I don't have a problem doing weaves because I wear a weave, but I just love getting to the science and the chemistry of your own hair and to find out, how we can make your hair as healthy as can be. I love when people are just like, do what you need to do to make my hair healthy. That to me is one of the best clients. And it's just a joy to see somebody, not only have growth, but to also have, the style in the hair, to have the right products, to really work and have a relationship and build those relationships with my clients. I have a lot of long-term clients, and I love to make sure that they look and feel their best. And that's one of the reasons why I even rebranded my salon and called it Hairfidence. I love what God is doing. I love that I have this brand. It's about hair, but it's also about confidence. I want you, and I want every little girl that's on the inside that always felt that they didn't look their best because of their hair, or maybe they weren't able to get their hair done, or maybe they just didn't find that look or that style, or they was always chasing to have longer hair or trying to chase a certain look. I want them to be able to experience feeling confident from the inside out, knowing that they are in good hands with their hair, knowing that they're educated, knowing that, their hair is with the best integrity, whether it's with color, whether it's with chemicals, whether it is natural, whether it's even under a wig. I want you to know about scalp care. I want the client to know that from the roots to the ends that they have healthy hair. I think healthy hair is the best hair. I know that the style is in the cut, but at the same time, underneath, I want to make sure that your hair is in the best condition possible. That is where Hairfidence come from, and that is why I developed a product brand. I want to make sure that you are equipped with the best products whether it's shampoo, conditioner, your maintenance products, your hair butter, the leave-in conditioner, the hair mask, the oils. I want to make sure that you're equipped at home. That's what I learned from that hair clinic, because we needed to make sure that we were properly caring for our hair at home so that we can get the best results. Like, let's build a partnership to work together. That's so important. I think it's more to it than just getting your hair done, going home and just being like, okay, cool, and then seeing it in another few weeks. What are you doing to your hair at home, and are you using the very best product for your hair texture? And what's good for one may not be good for another. You may need to mix and match a couple things, but you need a hair care system at home. And that is why I developed the brand that I did, so that I wanted to cover it from when you're coming to get your hair shampooed, getting it cared for, to what you're taking home with you, so that we can build a partnership for your look, and you can always feel confident in how you feel. And I like for y'all to look good out there in these streets, because when I see y'all and y'all be looking good, it makes me look good. So that's Hair for This. So what makes my products different than what you can get from the store? Well, one, I'm a licensed stylist, and my hands was in this product line. So I know, because I do hair, I know what your hair needs. I have two different brands. I have my premium brand, which is great for like your silk press girls. So this is for a really great home maintenance product. It's the shampoo. It's great for the scalp care. I have a hair mask that stops breakage. It stops the shedding. This hair mask is deeper than your average deep conditioner. I have the hair oils. I have a hair serum. And these are just high quality products. So this is not the products that you get from your beauty supply store. I'm not trying to knock any other brand. I'm not trying to knock what's there. But at the same time, it's a higher quality. There is a such thing as higher quality products. And the products that I carry are higher quality. I also have a moisture brand here. So for those that, especially for your kids that need more moisture in their hair, that's complaining that everybody complains that their hair is dry. You need to make sure that you are constantly putting moisture in our hair, especially if you have more of a curly pattern. You want to keep adding moisture. So I designed two different lines to meet the needs of several different hair types, and they're just getting really great results. They love it. They actually have black castor oil in my moisture, so people are getting like a lot of hair growth in, as they're using my products. So toot my own horn. So Hair for This is actually a family-owned business. I have my own hairline. Of course, I'm the stylist and the owner. My children grew up in the salon, but we also have a men's hair care line, which is my husband's. His line is not a hair care line. It's actually a grooming line for beards. It's called Grown Man Beard. And this is specifically for bearded men that are looking to add moisture to their beard, and just kind of teach them. I think these last few years that men are paying more attention to male grooming. And so he has a full grown beard. And during the pandemic, he came up with this line. This was something, because we was at home, that he decided to go forth in. We owned a beauty supply store together. So he was kind of in it with me. And he learned a lot also. And we just talking one day, we were just talking about what else he could do, and this was something that really came up, and he came up with the name Grown Man Beard, which is like his brand. He also has Grown Man Beard Sports, but it's specifically for men who love sports, men that have beard. We have two different scents. They smell good. They add moisture to the beard. So even for those who have that struggle beard, that's kind of patchy, we have something for that helps with the growth of that has the correct essential oils to promote hair growth for your beard. I think it's so important to find the perfect stylist for you, because like I said, when I was a teenager, I did some investigative work. So I found the perfect stylist for me during that time that really poured into me. She helped me with my maintenance plan. I went to her regularly. Like life was great during that time. And I found the look that I wanted. So she was able to really help me. So I think that nowadays with the internet and with social media and everything, gone are the days where we're just passing out cards as a stylist, right? So you have to kind of skim through it, but it's really not hard to find. You have to decide what you are actually looking for. If you're just looking for somebody just to do the style real quick, then go to Instagram, But if you're looking to build a relationship, if you're looking for a quality stylist, you have to really, I'm gonna tell you something that I did as a stylist. It may not be for everybody, but it was for me. Hairfidence is also a Christian hair salon. My prayer as a stylist was, Lord, send me the people that have been praying for a hairstylist like me. And for years, people would come to me and they would say, I've been praying for a hairstylist like you. And I was like, you heard both of our prayers. Like, this is amazing. Because once I changed my life for Christ, I changed my business, because I feel like you're supposed to reflect who you are in everywhere you go. So as my life changed and I began to live my life for Christ, my business had to reflect that. My life outside, it couldn't just be be me one way and then another day I'd be another way. So my business changed, the music changed, my talk changed, my walk changed, how I began to approach my business changed. It was very important for me. Like, I've always trusted God in my business. So when I say that He led me and guided me my whole career, like, it's not even a joke. The whole part of my testimony is that the Holy Spirit would tell me what to do, how to market myself, and I would do it, because I would just be like, well, God spoke to me, and I would do it, and I'd be like, it worked. I know that the steps of a good man are ordered by God. And I trusted the steps that He gave me, because He knew that there was a ministry in the hair business for Kelly Williams. And He knew of how everything was going to turn out. He knew who he was going to send. He knew what I needed and who needed to be in here. And so this is more than just a salon. This is also a ministry. I minister behind my chair, even in my salon. I have a faith girl group. And so I have young girls who I pour into and teach them about Jesus. We have prayer groups that go on during here, Bible studies that go on. And I love it, because I would have never thought almost 30 years ago that that's what God was going to do. Like, I just want to do hair. But God has so much more in store for me and so much more plans, and that the people that He was bringing to my life and vice versa, that I would have never imagined had I not just really been obedient and been like, no, this is what I'm going to do, because I knew what He had already planted in my heart, even as a little girl. So all those things that I went through, it was funny, but at the same time, everything the enemy meant for evil, God turned it around. So it became my story. And I'm happy to share that now, because we just have to learn, what can I do? I know it's a very relatable story, but I think that it's a very important story to tell, because it speaks to why I'm so passionate, and why I say no to a lot of different things, because some things it's just a no. It's just a no about what we're going to do to your hair, because it's going to mess up the integrity of the hair. And that's not the goal. So 17 years ago, I opened up a salon, and I named it Salon Ambiance. The reason why I named it Salon Ambiance is because I believe that the environment that you go in is so important. One thing I can say is that my mom always sent me to very nice salons. So I am not one who had like those terrible experiences in salons. So I wasn't in salons all day. I wasn't in like, where the cake lady and the food truck, like I just didn't, that wasn't my experience. Always was in very, whether it was a corporate type salon or whether it was just a very mature, I was always in mature salons, right? And so it was important to me to provide a solution where a family can come, whether it's the grandmother to a child, can come to a salon and receive service and feel comfortable. It was going to be no cussing. It was going to be, just a lot of, it wasn't going to be any gossiping. It just was not going to be that type of environment. That was not something that I was comfortable in even working in. So that's how I birthed out the name Salon Ambiance. And then maybe a few years ago, I was looking to start my own hair product line. And so I was trying to think of a name. I didn't want to name it after Ambiance, because I had already had Ambiance Beauty Supply Store, and I was just kind of like over that whole thing. And as I began to like really pray about it, because I had these products, but I had no name, so I couldn't launch it. And I began to really pray into it. So I finally came up with Hairfidence. And it was because I wanted people to feel confident in the process of their hair. I wanted to feel confident with the products, with coming to the salon. I want to continue to build up that confidence. I wanted women to feel good about healthy hair, about making the decision, about going through the process, about just being whole, about, the healing process, whether it's healing in your soul. It's more than just hair. It's just, I want it to be, more than an experience. I wanted you to know and be confident that your hair was at 100%. And that's where I came up with the name. It also comes with the Bible verse about, the recompense of what God is going to do and just being confident with the promise of the Lord. So I tied all that together and I rebranded it. I trademarked it. And that is what birthed out Hairfidence. It's been that way for like the last 2-3 years. And I'm very proud of where God is going to take it next and how He's going to continue to build that brand. It was 15 years ago, the Lord showed me that I was going to have a ministry with my daughters. And about 6 years ago, He gave me the go to start Faith Girls. And Faith Girls is for teen girls and is for building their confidence in Jesus Christ. The thing about it is, just like I had expressed the things that I had kind of went through, even though just with my hair, people say things they speak words over us. And so the words that were spoken to me as a child affected me. But imagine if I knew what heaven said about me. Imagine if I had somebody to build me up in Christ. So not only am I doing things on the outside with their hair, but I'm building them up from the inside. That's why it's in my salon. But I bring them here, and these are, like I said, for high school girls, and they are basically being built up in Christ. They're learning and they're growing in Christ. It meets monthly during the times that I have these sessions, and there are seeds that are being planted so they're able to know who they are in Christ. And we speak only what heaven says about them. We tear down everything that the enemy says, everything that people at school is saying about them, everything that they're saying that is causing them to not walk in a confident and have low self-esteem. And when I was a teenager, it was a girl who was in a car with some of my friends, and a girl had said, and she was a counselor, she said, "You're going to be a statistic." Now, first of all, I didn't know what statistic meant, so I had to look that up. But I kept thinking to myself, so in this car full of girls, I'm the only one that's going to be, first of all, what's a statistic? But I'm the only girl that's going to be a statistic? I didn't really understand that. And what made you single me out to say that I was going to be a statistic? And so I kind of carried that. Sometimes we carry those words with us as we grow. And once I found out what a statistic was, I was like, that really bothered me. I wasn't a statistic, but it made it more important that we have to be mindful of what we speak over people, but most importantly, what we speak over these young girls. And so prophetically, we move in the Faith Girls where we are going to only speak what heaven says. Had I known that I was going to be the salon owner, this is things we're speaking, but not only what you're going to do in the career, but how God is going to use you in your career. That's important. That's something that we teach also. Biblically, how do I impart biblical principles in your everyday life? How do we make that relevant to your everyday life? Practical things. And so to me, it's really important to build up. I build up women on the outside, but for the inside, I build up that little girl on the inside. And that's what Faith Girls is about. Owning a salon, I think is very interesting. I think it's so much more than just actually styling hair. The business part of it plays a huge part. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I am in ministry. There are certain things that I have had to really learn as I grew. And like I said before, once my life changed and I gave my life truly to Christ, my business changed. And so even though I was always a professional woman and a woman of integrity, I had to start applying biblical principles to my business. And so that meant that I had to learn how to seek God in everything that I do. I had to really, and as I began to grow and as the vision grew, it wasn't more like it was almost like God stepped back. Sometimes I felt like he didn't really step back, but I would feel like he would step back to watch me grow, to watch me see what I was going to do. So it's way more than just hair. It's a ministry. It's learning how to handle people. It's learning how to navigate things. It's learning how to even have a team, how to make sure that our standards are really, the standard's always Jesus, right? And so how do you show them that? How do you do that without being your average hairstylist, your average salon? Well, I didn't want to be an average salon. I wanted to be a salon that had a standard of professionalism, but the Lord began to really pour into us a lot more. And to me, it just created an atmosphere that was just amazing that I never would have thought that God would have done. Some of the pitfalls that I've had to go through is also the business part of learning finances, learning who I can trust. I think one of the greatest things about being a business owner with a salon is watching other people grow. So for me, like I appreciated watching the stylists that were in my salon open up their own salons. Like to me, like that was amazing. I had to learn, what role do you play in that? Like, is that one part of my plan? You know what I'm saying? Like my plan was really just to do here and open up a salon, but God had greater dreams. How can I support that? How can I support somebody else's vision when it was their time? How can I keep that connection? How can I make sure that we maintain integrity in business? How do we set the standard with the client? I learned being a stylist and being working at other businesses, the division that takes place in business. Some of the things that we don't necessarily want to talk about. So I just think learning those different things really helped me to grow. It helped to develop my character. It helped me to just be who I am today. And I'm proud of who I am today because I'm definitely not who I was even 5 years ago. I'm definitely not who I was 10 years ago because I had to go through the healing process of even having multiple businesses and learning how to even navigate through that. Having a business that didn't work, and navigating through the hurt of that. I had to learn so many different things, but how do you maintain professionalism when you're hurt? I think that was a huge lesson that I had to learn. And also, how do I apply the same thing that I'm teaching you? I had to make sure that my daughters are doing those things. I had to make sure that I walk the walk that I talk, if that makes sense. So just as I have grown this business, I have been in a place where now I'm just like, okay, Lord, what else do you want to do with this business? One of the things I even talk about when I talk about releasing what heaven says about me, coming into perfect alignment with what the Lord has spoken over my business. I didn't have no interest in having my own product line, but it kept being spoken over me, and when it was time, it was time, and it's doing well. And I'm proud of these things that I have accomplished. But you have to know when it's time to close that door and move on to the next, because God has greater things in store for the business and for the vision, and I have to be here for it. So when it comes to work-life balance, what I have learned as a hairstylist is that I cannot be available 24/7, which typically I'm not. I think I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at my boundaries. Even though you may see me on social media, that does not mean that I'm available. Even though my children grew up in the salon, my children are not a part of the salon growing up. And so I made sure that when I am a mommy, then I'm a mommy. And so I make sure that they get their time. I make sure that my husband gets his time. I make sure that when I'm in here, the clients get that time, right? So even though I maybe sometimes texting them back for, they know, okay, hold on, I am at work. So I think part of my work-life balance is something that my husband also really helped me with, is to make sure that I take time for vacation. So I'm still learning work-life balance, but those vacations mean a lot to me. So I have learned to, during that time, that is truly time of rest. So I'm not the one of those vacationers where you're going to see me just doing a whole lot. I'm usually quiet because I pour out so much and I talk so much that I want to just be quiet, and I just want the stillness. And I want to always take that time to hear God's voice for the next, whether it's the next season, whether it's the next couple of months, whether it's next year. I want to take that time to quiet everything down and just learn. I had to learn how to rest. So I think when it comes to business, especially as a hairstylist, you have to learn when there's a time to work and there's a time to put that down. And so I think that's something I'm still learning, but I think that's something that's very valuable, because in this industry, we can really overwork ourselves and we can really try to appease everybody, which you just can't. I also learned about who my target market was, and so I'm not afraid to say no. I'm not afraid to refer out. I know what I do. I know what I do well. I do hair really well. I have the knowledge that you need, and I know what I don't do well, and it's okay to say that. So I have no issues with that. And I just go from there. So one of my final thoughts is that I know a lot of times when it comes to hair, people often, they say different things. I think that people are always at some point clueless as to what to do with their hair. But if you stay in a foundational place, your hair will always thrive from if your hair is healthy. So if you stay at the foundational place of having a good hairstylist, having a regular routine, having a regular maintenance system, using the correct products for your texture, your hair will always, and you pay attention to your scalp, and you pay attention to your needs. You pay attention to what your hair needs at this stage of your life, whether it's for adolescence, whether it's for your teen, whether you're in perimenopause, whether you're older, whether you're on medication, whether you're not on, whether you're trying to get off medication. All of this plays a part on how your hair is going to look, and what looks good on one person may not look good on another. I know what looks good on me. And so you have to learn what's going to look good on you. And that's where hair for this come from, because that's where your confidence is going to come from. What is going to look good on you? What looked good for your mother and what she did may be totally different. What looks good on your girl and some of the other women that you're around may not work for you at all. And that's okay, because you are uniquely who you're called to be. You have your own unique look. And so I think we need to go over that and just be confident in who you are, because a lot of times we look at hairstyles, and this is something I tell everybody. You're actually looking at the person. You're looking at that person's confidence. The hair can be average and just a flat wrap, but that person's confidence can outshine everything. So a lot of times what you're truly looking at when you're looking at these pictures is that person's confidence and how they actually make the hair. So that's one thing that I really want to say. It could be the same hairstyle, but it's how you bring it out.